Hello, a big
Hi.
hello to you and all the listeners from the Big Design Show. We are so thrilled to have you here, Miriam, today. Hope you
Thank
and
you.
your loved ones are staying all safe and fine during this pandemic and
Yeah,
everything.
difficult times. Yes.
Yeah, difficult times, definitely. So, how have you been keeping yourself sane during this entire pandemic period?
We've been working actually. My office is an extension of my home.
Right.
So even in the first lockdown, we were all staying together, and we did a lot of things actually. Even now,
Yeah.
my parents have been positive, so we've been
Oh,
around the house helping them with stuff, doing our work, etc.
okay. So, you post about your designs. Let's just get into talks about designs and the conversations. So your post about designs, they very subtly narrate a well thought journey from the conceptual to the manifest. And we would really love to hear it from you, your design
Hmm.
journey, your journey of the design.
Okay, it's actually a very long story to sort of put down in a few words, but I'll keep my background in short. So
Sure.
I grew up in a small town in South Gujarat called Navsari, small Parsi town, and then me and a few of my friends decided to leave the town because there was no future there. So we ended up in Pune, and yeah, then I think 11th grade, 12th grade, there was not. So that was a time when most people were getting into engineering. Like there was only
Yeah.
one sort of future that your parents would sort of want you to go ahead with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then uh, it was, I realized after 2 years that I just physics and chemistry is just not my thing. I enrolled into architecture school thinking it'll be easier. But it was interesting. I think the first 2 years, I think were the best years of the journey that started because we had this subject called basic design. So we had these very good professors who introduced us to the smaller nuances of how things work. It was very difficult to grasp what they're saying, the words, the vocabulary, because there was no artistic background as such. But that's the time I realized that this is something that I
Right.
want to do. And that is also the time that I took a break for a year. I came back home. I told my parents, I think finally I found something that I would want to do, but I will need some time because it's very difficult to grasp, what's being conversed. And then I started spending a lot of time in the library, started reading a lot of things, started watching a lot of films, literature. Architect Girish Doshi from Navkar, he used to teach us. He's also Gujarati, so he told me
Yeah.
that you learn nothing in the classroom. You should come to my office. So we started sort of following him on his site visits. And first year, you barely know anything. You just observe him. Every time you go to talk to him about what to start talking about, have you watched this, seen this film? This is very, very interesting. Even I met him after so many years, just I think 3 months back, still the same. Anyways, so that then eventually at the end of the 7 years that I was in architecture school, I never wanted to be an architect. It was like a personal angst that to get through this. And I gotten wanted to direct films after that because FTI was very close to my house, the Film and
Mm-hmm.
Television Institute in Pune. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's try something else now. But then I was doing a project, I was working through college. So doing a project in Ahmedabad, and my parents had shifted here from Navsari because the whole recession thing. So I said, okay, let's do one project and see where it leads. Uh, Finished the project and met a few designers from other fields. And so you're sitting, there is a hospital here. So, with hospitals and around, there are so many medicine shops.
Yeah.
So it's Dawani Dukaan, Dawani Dukaan, Dawani Dukaan. So I said,
Oh,
just
okay.
sitting there and just chatting. And I said, why don't you some people design a Dukaan, where, because no one had any work as such. We all struggling, like you just get out of college, someone was a graphic designer, textile. And I said,
Yeah.
let's just give a name to this and see what kind of projects we get. So that's how it started. So yeah, then so after I think yeah, so then we finished that first architectural project, etc. And then
Mm-hmm.
again there was a big question as to what next. So after all those years, so we ended up back in Navsari, my hometown, because we said that. So this is the time when your relatives would come to you and tell you, do a project. We have a small room for them, etc. We didn't want to do that. Have a big
Yeah. Yeah.
principle to not to work within family, and I don't believe in charity also. in that sense. So we ended up in Navsari again. I said, okay, save some money. And my father used to restore a lot of antiques because Navsari is a dying Parsi town. So, you would
Oh,
have these it's called Shaniwaris or Saturday flea markets. You would
market, right.
gather a lot of old Parsi broken down colonial furniture and restore them. So there was a carpenter, Pujaram. He's 2 years elder to me, I think. So I called him.
Oh.
I said, okay, we want to learn carpentry. Now we're coming to Navsari. So my backyard became like a small workshop where we'd be
Hmm.
working with him. We'd go buy wood with him. Nothing. I mean, there was nothing to do. We just wanted to create things and probably think about what to do next. So that's how furniture started. And then we randomly made that Facebook page. And I said, let's just document things that we do. So put stupid images of us covered in sand. We got a call from this big firm in Surat called Angan in Vishal Bay. Said that why don't you make furniture? So I
Hmm.
told him that I don't want to make furniture. I'm just doing it for the sake of it. And then he called me a few times and I said, okay, let's do this. You give me a context, you explain the project to me, and let me design and execute these pieces for you. Like how you'd work on an architectural project, drawings, plan sections, elevations. And that worked out well. And then we did a lot of work with them. Yeah, so then we started doing a lot of customization. So very tedious work, because like there were like 30 to 40 pieces that we would design in say 2 months, execute in 4 5 months. And after a point, we sort of realized that it is a little idealistic. Anyways, I mean that's the journey later. But yeah, this is how it started. I think I'll let you ask the questions further, so I can
No, I
elaborate.
mean, I'm getting much more curious to, how that journey, like right
Hmm.
from before you even started designing Dukaan and how this designing Dukaan took a shape with all these small things, designing objects, designing furnitures,
It's
art.
it's actually been very organic. So I always to simplify. I think I am okay with. I always wanted to deal with different scales of design. The last was jewelry, which we just did for daughter because my father also does jewelry. Now, I always tell people that, and currently it's become even more difficult. So I was like, you build a base.
Yeah.
So we were very lucky that we had these professors who made us and forced us to watch these certain films, read certain books beyond design and architecture. I don't know. I think if you understand, say, if you, I don't know if anyone's seen Pather Panchali or any of Kurosawa's films, you see there's a certain drama that they create with a different medium. Now,
Yeah.
when you translate those, if you understand and analyze and get to a point where you can understand what the director or the story is trying to tell, then that is something that you can translate to any scale of design. So I'm just glad that I spent a lot of time not trying to get into a bigger firm, try to work with a master architect. I put a lot of time onto myself to understand and make my own process of how I see things. So and
Right.
now that process just very seamlessly flows into whether I do furniture or make a bike or a piece of jewelry or a house. It's the same drama that I look for, and this is what I keep building upon.
Yeah, so the way you are saying that there are multiple objects and a lot of experimentation with some objects. So besides designing Dukaan, you are tagged with multiple interesting ventures like Totto, Pod, and they have such
Yeah.
an amazing and elegant collections. With consideration to aesthetics, craftsmanship, affordability, and they're perfectly synced in together. So I'm sure the audience is equally excited to know more about these ventures as well.
I always there was like this phase 3 years back where and in fact, this is I'm a very old school sort of a person that like if you consider all the master architects, their projects they were always these collaborations with artists, with like BB Doshi has spoken about Kumar Gandhar, he's spoken about MF Hussain. There was a very close community of people who actually these modernists, like the post-independence era was such a exciting time because got that came to a place where we could do our own self-expressions. Like if you see Charles Correa's work or if you see MF Hussein's work, these are all very rooted ideas from where we belong, but put in a very modern way. So these collaborations have always happened. I am not sure why these don't happen so often. And I understand that my collaboration with senior architects. Now what I'm trying to do now is to involve the younger artists in my work. Pod and daughter both happen the same time. So the thing is that with Design Dukaan, we still don't have a structure. We don't
Right.
have cabins. We don't have designations, and it's evolved that way. After a point. In fact, there's a big struggle at the start because we were what 4 5 friends who actually started this together, and by the time I was 28, we put in all the money we had into doing the office. So there were no
Mhm.
salaries, there was no money as such. So there was a big question about what's going to happen with this. And they eventually it sort of disintegrated from all the sort of friends into then a structure which is still going on. We still don't know what to happen, but that is I realized something from that uh, and with me I have a nature that if there's something that I don't know, I'll figure out how to do it. I said, okay,
Mhm.
now how do you look at design also as a business, which I have not done for the past 32 years of my life. So then I said, okay, let's do collaborations. So then
Yeah.
me and Nishita, who my partner at Pod, so we are the complete opposites. And
Uh-huh.
like you have no idea the amount of fights we have over things and shit like that. But that balances out. That whether she's good with business, I handle the design, the manufacturing. So all in all, I think it's collaborations is the way forward. If yeah, and Dotto Saloni had done a diploma in the studio, and uh, I always wanted to experiment with smaller products, and then we got together, started talking, decided why not we focus on a smaller scale in a similar structural manner. So these two brands are basically something that you can scale up. It's more of a business model where Design Dukan is not.
It's
Yes,
more
like
of an erratic structure of
yeah, yeah.
Sane Dukaan. It sounds like one. Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
please
How do
repeat?
you integrate architecture, products, objects,
Hmm.
accessories, furnitures? You
Yeah,
say
so
said that you also modified your bike and all that.
yeah,
So
like I
there must be
said,
something to it.
there are a certain there are certain it's like your own story, that and you call it the butterfly effect. I always measure life in these small moments. In fact I got out of Navsari to escape that life in the town. And
Mm.
then the whole circle of staying in a city, trying to be something, and then getting back to Navsari. I used to work from there and love to work from there. So I don't know. There are, the I think my life is always a complete circle. It's always been a complete circle. So for example, we started doing woodwork and we said, okay, let's do a craft-based practice where you can help these artisans and crafts. And now suddenly Modi ji has said Atmanirbhar, so everyone's saying it, but we have been talking about being a self-sufficient office for very long, which has been very difficult. But even now, like when this we never predicted that the situation will happen, but we have a small campus where uh, even now we have been sort of living in this whole lockdown where we don't feel that we don't have a home, because the studio is almost a home.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there are these movies that we watch sometimes in our free time, and we talk about it. We sit again, we talk about it, and then when you sit on the drawing board and you draw lines, there are these little parts of you which from literature, from movies, from music that you come across, which sort of seamlessly become a part of whatever you design. So
Mhm.
I don't think scale matters. I think you should be, and it's a very long process. Like if you consider any Indian dance form, or classical music, so there is a certain progression to how you reach the peak in the rag, that you have to start with an alap, that you meditate over the notes and the mood of the rag, and then you go to silence, and then you go to a tan. When you singing or playing the tan, it's the highest peak where the music flows, but you
Yeah.
can reach there only when you have meditated enough with the slower parts. So I always tell my students the same, that if you think that you'll get out of college, do a master's, work somewhere for 2 years, and be ready to face the world or have honed your craft, it's not going to happen. It's a very slow inward looking journey that you read a book and you think over it. You analyze it. You see how this affects me, and and there is no straight answer to how you reach. It's your own journey. And I always tell people, this whole thing about where people, it's a very simple thing now that you go to the internet, go to Pinterest, and you see something someone done, and you make like a mood board and show to the client, and you sell things. But now to understand that, if you look at any of these designers or architects, they have gone through their own journey. Corbusier, if you now tell people read biographies.
Hmm.
Corbusier's father was a watchmaker, then his journey to getting to wherever he was. And then you see that if you compare his paintings and his murals and his furniture and his architecture, there is a certain central thought, a certain curve that you'll notice in all his work. So first tell people, don't browse things. Try to uh, read. Don't even see pictures, maybe biographies. So let's tell people that read any artist's biography first, and then look at his work, and then see how it relates to how his path has taken him to a certain level of achievement at his peak.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that's what I don't really have a straight answer to how this happens, but even now, every day that we explore things or I travel or I see things, now it's easier now because the journey initially has been so difficult, and now it's easier for me to have a lot of clarity in designing certain things in a certain way.
So it's not a very easy part to reach where probably you are today, because वो कहते हैं ना धक्के होना life में and all that teaches you so
Yeah,
much to be.
absolutely. I don't.
And I think that is the most important part of being and achieving something, and that's when you actually appreciate what you have, you're grateful to what you have, and this entire journey is so wow. And you always have been mentioning about the correlation between music and art, architecture, and everything. So do you practice similar things in your studio as well? Like, is this how your
Yeah,
studio
yeah, we have.
working? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, now I have been getting much deeper into music. Like there's a guy called Hardik Dave. He's a friend. He's a son of a very prominent Gujarati singer. So
Acha.
I heard my friend actually made me hear his work, and then I messaged him, and he just ended up coming to the studio randomly. So what he's trying to do with music, he's trying to integrate folk from all parts of the world in sort of a way where he goes to the Narmada and he performs. It's what do you call it? Adhyatmic, spiritual. So,
Wow.
so it could relate very well with him that what we are trying to do with our work is to sort of bring back these rooted materials and ideas that were there within us into a very contemporary, fresh sort of an outline. And it relates so well to meet someone like that, where he speaks about Sindh, Sufi, Pakistan, so many different genres of music coming together into sort of a silent sort of a circle. So it's seamless. It's the same ideas, but in different genres. Where design and contemporary design is rooted to our old thoughts, and his contemporary music is rooted to all the little things that got him here. So it's nice to have conversations, and that is what I tell all these students to also understand, that you understand why this conversation is happening, as to why do I relate to Hardik so much. And this should be done. You should keep your senses aware, sort of open yourself out, not just to, even if you're a designer or musician, you should have the um, understanding of how to appreciate or understand other people's work in different fields.
Wow,
Yeah.
sounds so soulful to me. This is like, wow, how someone can even think so deep about how music, art, and everything is correlated, interrelated, of course. So this is amazing how this conversation is taking a shape. The way you spoke about the different scales of furniture, the objects that you have been doing. We would love to hear if what was your favorite, or maybe you can say the most cherished project in terms of architecture, in terms of products, accessories, everything. So we would love to hear about some of your projects that you cherish the most.
Very clear, the project I cherish the most is this bungalow that I've been working for the past 7.5 years, which is almost done now. Um, for me, I do furniture, I do products for me, but for me, architecture has a different level of reverence.
Mm.
It's just sad that we haven't been able to put out that project as much as we want to. But there's a pyramid, and architecture is always the top. So we've done for this project, we've done the architecture, the landscape, the light design, the furniture design, everything. Or think of my projects as a favorite project because every time something new comes, we challenge ourselves to do something better than what we've done before.
Mhm.
So I always tell people that don't romanticize your work. You have to have the strength uh, and the grace to not like what you've done before. So sometimes look back at my old pieces and I tell myself that this was horrendous. Why would you even design something like that? But that gives you the motivation to be better. And that is the whole point of not getting into commercial furniture. We've been getting so elaborate and they tell us that we have a 30,000 showroom and we give this much work, but that is exactly what we don't want to do. We are more than happy working for the 10, 15 people that understand what we do. Plus the problem is that logistically it takes a lot of time to create these things. It's not just a
Right.
simple wooden chair. There's a lot of brass components have to be milled. uh, so yeah, it's labor of love, more than anything.
Wow, this is really nice and such an informative, such an interesting conversation, and I'm looking forward to more such conversations with you. So, there are so many takeaways and small learnings throughout from you as a person, as a professional, as an artist. And we wish, these conversations keep happening more often. So, thank you so much. And we wish you and the Design Ni Dukaan and all your ventures all the best and a very happy, healthy, and safe time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Viram. Thank you. And thank you, all the audience, for joining us in. And I'm sure everyone must have really had great learnings from the conversation and from Viram, especially. Thank you so much, Viram. Thank you. See you soon. Have a nice time ahead. Bye bye.